Hello, I'm Jeff from Wccftech, and we're going to review Train Valley. This deceptive little game is actually incredibly addictive and absolutely lovely to look at, with nothing short of thousands of innocent lives that can be lost in horrific train crashes. Welcome to Train Valley, my friends, the endearing railway management game by three friends. These three friends made this game as a result of their own internal passion for the, well, of all things, the railroad, and as well as the essential need that the railroad had and played from where they were all raised, which was in the Ural region of Russia. Now, their love of the subject matter and of this particular railroad medium actually shines through in this game, despite it kind of looking a little bit more, well, benign when you actually take a look at it. Now, from the passenger's point of view, this would have been an absolute joy to ride in some of these trains that I created within this railroad empire that we have here. Because as you can see, you know, I really linked up Europe and France and rode nearly every train past the chateau, completely ignoring the fact that there were shorter routes that the train could have taken to improve the profitability for me. But regardless, it doesn't matter, because it's all about the passengers and that sweet, sweet experience of looking out to the left and to the right and seeing some amazing views, right? That's why we all get on trains for the most part. For the views, for the fun, for the excitement, because trains can be somewhat exciting. But enough about talking about real trains. Let's talk about this particular game right here. Now, in Train Valley, it really becomes an issue, all of this profitability, of course, as the complexity increases in later levels. You end up sending more trains in the wrong direction due to, well, track switching that you do once too many times, and you don't really keep track of which ones you have done, which ones you need to do to get it where it needs to go, or you accidentally switch something which is on an adjacent track because it's a little bit too close. And of course, everything within your beautiful train empire can seem to go incredibly smoothly, and you can do a lot of things right for a number of different years, and then all of a sudden, after, let's say, 20 years of your train empire managing that thing, bam! There's a crash. Everything's gone. All of those passengers dead. And this happens, actually, a lot more often than you would think, because managing these trains is a lot more complex than you would think. And of course, then the spiral begins. Casualties start weighing on your mind, and then, of course, comes bankruptcy. Of course, thankfully, they're kind enough to let you try again as well, because, well, after all, this is a game. Train Valley may seem simple at first, and the first few levels inevitably are pretty simple, as it, you know, sort of introduces you to the type of gameplay that this is. But as you progress through this, it becomes terribly, terribly complicated. When the increasing number of destinations pop up on later maps, it means that the large number of routes makes everything become an incredibly compressed mess. Especially so when the need for alternate routes to avoid all these inevitable crashes are included. And only adding these routes to your system adds a switch. And that switch, which directs the route of train, is not automatic. Of course not. Why would it be automatic? That would be far too easy. So, of course, it's manual. You have to do it yourself. And, of course, juggling this need of planning and building extra routes to avoid the inevitable mass destruction that happens, it actually actively opposes the other key objective within the game, which is, of course, to make money and to, well, ultimately to avoid going bankrupt. Of course, every piece of track that you lay costs a flat $1,000, unless, of course, you decide to displace a few ethnic minorities, in which case you've got to pay an extra $5,000 to $20,000 for that particular privilege. But if you wait too long to get your trains to their respective destinations, then their value will depreciate too much. And then you don't make enough money, and at the end of the year, taxes will hit, and then comes bankruptcy. But the game is actually incredibly fun, despite all of that, and it's really sad when you go onto the Steam page for Train Valley, and you read all of these reviews that decry it as being a Facebook game. You know, one of those strange games that people always invite you to play, right? But they say that mostly due to its appearance, and the fact that there are only a handful of things to do at each level. What is more disappointing is that a post, made just prior to the Facebook one, can actually be complaining about the sheer amount of micromanagement involved in later stages, switching tracks, starting and stopping trains, and then keeping an eye on those trains that are released at a certain time in certain maps as historic events. Now, of course, these complaints are obviously diametrically opposed to each other, but they also show that games like Train Valley are ignored due to their appearance by some, most by their appearance, because this appearance does look a little bit low budget, low key, something that, oh well, I'm not going to play because the graphics are horrible. But don't be fooled, because it's just the aesthetic. And it really is just a train management game. And it's an incredible train management game, in fact. And it's more than worth it because of the amount of hours that you can actually put into it, and the amount of hours that you can actually enjoy what you're putting into it. Because as much as it is a Facebook-looking game, there is a tremendous amount that you can actually do, and it really does suck you in. It pulls you in with the amount of things that you want to do. You feel compelled to come back to fix all those train routes and to fix things and to try to go through at least 20 years or so without having your trains crash. And so this is a sleeper hit. It's incredibly complex, yet it looks so simple on the outside. And so it has pleasing aesthetics nonetheless, and it is an excellent game with an excellent game design and a good balance of challenge in such a small, wonderful package. So why don't you try it out? Give it a try. I'm Jeff for WCCF Tech Reviews.